At 23, she bought her first boat. She bleeds saltwater. She is the queen marketer, the owner of 2 Freedom Boat Clubs in Florida, and she gives back to her community and charities. Welcome, Lisa, to the Pam Goodwin Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to be on. So thank you so much.
Well, I cannot wait to hear your story. And it's so interesting how we met. We have a mutual friend, Captain Sandy, and she
Yes.
put us in touch. And, you know, just everything that you're doing, especially your career, can't wait to hear it. But you're based in Jacksonville, Florida. I would love for you to, share your story.
All right, awesome. So basically it's actually 3 locations here in Jacksonville. So we have one that is on the river at Julington Creek. And then we have one in St. Augustine, Florida, which is on the intercoastal. And then we have another one at Jacksonville Beach. And so I am a born and raised Floridian and very proud of it. And I know you talked in the beginning about bleeding saltwater, but my parents were competitive water skiers. And actually, my mother skied with me in her belly till she was 6 months pregnant. And then the doctor said, stop, you cannot ski anymore. And then literally 6 weeks after that, my dad built a container, for lack of a better word, that would float. And they put me on the boat with them. And my mom said they would put me up underneath the bow. They would practice. They'd stop. She'd take me out and feed me. They'd back underneath the bow I went. So I've been smelling outboard motor oil since I was 6 weeks old.
That's great. I love that picture of you when you're with your mom and dad at Cypress Gardens and how little you were. So
it's crazy. So I look back at those pictures and say, was I just destined I was going to be the Boatanista, And so I, grew up boating, of course, loving boating. And then when I was, about 22 or 3, so I had a boyfriend and we had a boat together, and we were breaking up. And I said to myself, I don't want to let go of the boat. And so I called my dad and I said, hey, Dad, I think I'm going to buy his boat. My dad's like, oh, single girl, you better think about that, So I said, okay, hung up the phone. I called him back 2 days later and I said, hey, Dad, I thought about it. I bought the boat. I need you to come up and help me set the dock lines and paint the bottom. And he was like, let me give you a list of what you need. So I bought the boat. And
how much did you buy the boat for? Do you remember? How much did you?
Oh, yeah. I think it was like $4,000. So it was,
So at that time, how did you come up with the money?
So I was actually working at Bell South, which was my first job out of college. Basically, I was a salesperson and had a 25-year career there. And so, I saved the money and bought the boat. And I had a condo on the river, and they had slips, and that's where I kept it. And so, for the next 25 years, while I loved what I did at Bell South, and I'm proud of my career. When I got on with Freedom Boat Club, I began to understand the difference between loving what you do and having a passion for what you do. And so I would have the boat. I had the boat, and I literally would travel all over the state of Florida, take the boat with me. At Bell South, they'd be like, yeah, Lisa, have boat, we'll travel. It went, I went to, Pensacola, Panama City, Lake City, Palatka. Everywhere I went, I took the boat with me. And loved boating. So I loved my job, and I was doing a great job, but my after work life was about getting on the boat. And I was super blessed to kind of break through some walls, even at Bell South. I was one of the first women managers in the sales organization in Jacksonville. And then I got promoted to be a regional sales manager. And I was out of the 14 regional sales managers, there were 2 women. So, I was learning sales and marketing, and I was the director of marketing for the whole 9-state region in Bell South. And then Bell South and AT&T were merging back together again. And Bell South was a company that cared about its people, cared about the product. There was, you felt good about what you did. You felt good about the customer. And I felt like AT&T didn't really have that. And I just was like, I don't know that I can continue down this path. And so with only 25 years, I was 5 years from retirement. I walked out. They had a thing where you could have age plus years equals, 65 and you could go. But my catalyst for that was I had gone to Africa on an African safari with a girlfriend, and we had gone to this village, and we were there with the villagers, and their hearts were so open, and they were so kind and loving, and they just wanted to show you their arts and their, where they lived and the animals. And I literally had a little bit of a breakdown. I went back to the Jeep and I was just bawling. And my girlfriend comes up to me and she's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, they're so happy and they have nothing. Wow. And I wasn't there anymore. I didn't love what I did anymore. And I knew in that moment, I got to go. And I looked at her and I said, "I'm leaving." She goes, "Oh, you're not going to leave. You got 5 years to retirement. Are you crazy?" And I was like, "No, I'm going." And I remember I came back and I called my supervisor and I said, "I want to go. I'll give you 4 weeks notice." And she was like, "Did you get malaria? Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." I mean, it was clear. And so I walked out.
Wow.
And had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew in my being, if I had to go wait tables, I would wait tables and make a living. If I had to sell everything, I would be okay. I wasn't scared about that. What I was more scared about was, what do I do next? What do I do now? And so I took a year off and said, okay, this is going to be my year to reinvent myself. And I bought books, Finding Your Passion, Reinventing Yourself. And I'm a woman of faith, and I prayed every day and said, "God, point me, take me, show me." And then one of my big boater buds who lives on the creek with me called me one day and he said, "Hey, I have a job for you." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And he said, "We're going to go on a 72-foot, and he didn't even get yacht out of his mouth. And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever it is, I'm in." And he said it was, going to sell boat club memberships. And I didn't even know about the boat club concept. And the weird thing about me being a woman who owned a boat is, or not weird, but my dad had 3 girls. And we just learned how to back the boat, back the trailer, drive the boat. It was never a question of, are you capable? Can you do it? It's like, even when I called my dad, he was trying to say, "Well, I don't know, you need to think about that." But when I told him I was going to do it, he was like, "Okay, let's go," And I just always thought I could do it. It wasn't ever a question. And so when Jeff called me and said, "Do something in boating," I'm like, wow, this is a dream come true. And so I got on with a different company than Freedom Boat Club, and they were kind of a mess. It was sort of a mess. And so I ended up leaving. And so then I was like, wow, now what? Well, a couple weeks later, I found out that Freedom Boat Club was coming to Jacksonville, and they were going to open a corporate location. So I was literally on my computer trying to find out, calling. As a matter of fact, the guy who does the interviews called me back and he goes, "Okay, we're going to interview you." And I was like, I want them to know who I am.
I'm sure your marketing skills paying off, right? From your years of experience in corporate.
Exactly. So they had 12 applicants, and I would find out later it was 11 men and me.
Wow.
And I would find out, interestingly enough, 3 years later, they fessed up and said, when they were on their way here to interview me and they were going through the resumes, they said, what about this girl? We'll give her the cursory interview, but I don't know that a woman can do the job. Literally was
no.
Yeah, that was their mindset.
They didn't know they didn't know who they were dealing with, right?
And so they came up and interviewed. And after they interviewed me, they were like, oh, wow, how can we not hire her? Because I had the love of boating, the passion of boating, the knowledge of boating, and all of the sales and marketing skills. I mean, it was like a perfect fit. Pam, I honestly feel like my whole career was prepared for that moment, really, was preparing me for that moment. So I got the job and I worked for them. It was really rough in the beginning because Freedom had some bad reputation here in Jacksonville. We had a really, really bad cold winter, and I wasn't really producing at the level they expected. And so they actually came up to fire me. And I really kind of just sold them on the fact that I can do this. It's just, we're in a rocky road right now, and we got to get through it, but I can do it. And I did it. And so really turned the club around. Members were really loving what was going on. We were doing events and the whole business was turning around. Well, so then the next step they came is like, we want you to buy the business.
Oh.
And I'm like, and, I think, like, if I wanted to tell everybody something, I think that the big lesson for me was that, in my life, Pam, I never, ever, ever had a thought of owning my own business. Never. It just wasn't in my realm. I graduated from college. I started with Bell South. I had a 25-year career with Bell South. Like, I'm the corporate girl was my view of myself. I never saw myself. And it's funny, when I was telling the story to my stepmom, she goes, I think that's so odd because I've always seen you as an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't see myself as that, So they kept pursuing me. And so finally they took me to dinner one night and they said, what is wrong with you? Why do you not want to do this? Like, you're actually doing a better job than some of our franchise owners now, and you're just managing the business. And so, and I think this is also another point of a paradigm shift within yourself. He said to me, well, why don't you want to do it? And I said, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do what I don't want to do anymore. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't want to worry about maintenance and payroll and insurance and that stuff and accounting and whatever. And you guys take care of that. You let me do what I'm good at. Sales, marketing, managing the business, training, being out there, being the face. And so actually Bob looked at me and he said, well, do you have someone that might want to go in the business with you that would do that part of it? And it was like this light bulb went on. I mean, I never, and I was like, you know what? I think I do. And so I had a dock manager that had graduated from college that was working for me, one of those Enigma kids, hard worker, saved money, very focused, had a plan for himself, was going to buy a business when he graduated. And he had been around boats since he was 13 years old, worked at the Freedom Boat Club in Fort Lauderdale, did a great job for me. I knew him as an employee. He knew me as a boss. And so I called him up and said, do you want to do this with me? And we did it. And so we bought the business from Freedom. And at that time we had, 2 locations and I think 10 boats. And fast forward.
And what year was this?
So this was 2011.
Okay. It's only 10 years ago. Wow.
And so now we have 3 locations and 100 boats.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. 105 boats and a shop. And it's just, and it's amazing. And what I love about it the most is people who have, especially women, who have dreamed of always wanting to own a boat, or they didn't have the boyfriend or the husband, they can now join the club and they don't have to worry about the maintenance or the trailering or anything like that. And I just had a women's event last week at Freedom, and I cannot tell you, there was, I think, 8 single women there that joined for that exact reason. And they're like, I love it. It's like I have my own boat, but I don't have to have the worries of all the other stuff. And so many more women are getting behind the helm and driving. And it's, you can see them change within themselves. So we do these ladies' days where we bring all the women together and put them on the boat and let them practice docking and anchoring. And, we have captains. And I'll never forget, Sherry was behind the helm and I'm out on another boat and she's like putting along. I'm like, Frank, get her up on plane. Get her up on plane. And we actually have a picture of her driving, standing up and her hair blowing. And, I have another woman who, like, literally when I took them for their ride on the boat, she sat in the back and held her 9-year-old daughter. 3 years later, she comes in my office and she's like, I pulled up to get the gas today. And she's high-fiving me, driving the boat. And I think it's like, and it's not like, woman, hear me roar. It's that this industry has been like, it's for the men. It's a male dominated industry is what the thought was. It's not for women, so to speak. And so that's what I love about it. Like, women can do it.
I love that. I want to just go back quickly because I feel there's so many women, especially that I talk to, that have a passion for something, but they feel almost stuck in their corporate positions. And it took you going to Africa on a travel experience to realize. But what advice would you have for, people watching that go, I have a passion, but I'm in my comfort level it's hard for me to leave corporate. I don't want the benefits, and all that stuff. And I left corporate America too to start my own business. So I know what it feels like. But what advice do you have to really make that leap and follow your passion?
So this is what I would say. The definition of courage is having the fear and doing it anyway. So just recognize, okay, I'm scared to do this. That's okay. You have to push past the fear. But here's the other part. If you're successful in this silo, you can be success. Success comes to wherever you are. It's within you. So if you were successful in corporate America, you can bring that success to your own business or your passion or whatever it is. And I think the other thing is, look at the people all around you. Like, I was surrounded by successful people, and so I could pick up the phone and call any of them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or what do you think about that? And actually, I called my girlfriend, MG, who she and I had grown up together in Bell South and we trained together. And after they left the office to fire me, I held back the tears the whole time and I pushed through it and they didn't. I broke down and I was just crying. And I called my girlfriend, MG, and I was like, and she said, just stop. She goes, they don't know who you are. You are Lisa Almeida and you can make this happen. They don't understand that yet. So pick up your bootstraps and let's put a plan together. What do you need to do in order to make it work?
That's great. So, and I think the other thing that, women, we're known for doing it all. And I loved, what you said of finding a partner and collaborating with someone that has different skills than you, coming up with a business plan to make it work.
Right. And that was a huge shift for me because, like you said, we're always about, we can get it done, get it done, get it done. And it's, one of our boats is named Perfect Partnership because Kevin and I think that we have a perfect partnership. So one of the things, the mistakes that I see people do is you want to go into business with someone who's like you. that doesn't work. I needed the Kevin. I needed that person who had that analytical numbers, payroll, maintenance, boats. I needed that strategic thinking and someone who was good at that and enjoyed doing that and got excited about looking at spreadsheets instead of me who go, oh, but we're a perfect partnership because, that's who we are. As a matter of fact, I love this. When we won Franchise of the Year, my membership director came up and he said, hey, I want to hug the left and the right side of the brain of this business.
Oh, yeah.
And it really is true, so if you're successful in one area, you can be successful in another. And are you going to have the fear? Absolutely. Are you going to have the bumps? It's not about whether you're going to have it, it's how you handle it, and, so it was just great when I called MG that day. It's exactly what I needed. She needed to say, hey, okay, you've had the tears, get past it. And now what are you going to do? And I think that that's so important. And the other thing that I never knew, because I never had the thought of owning my own business, there's so many resources out there. The Small Business Association, there's SCORE. I don't know if SCORE is nationwide, but
we have that here in Dallas. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are so many resources that are out there for you that will help you and support you and, help you get there. And, if you reach out to someone and say, hey, I need your help, they're going to want to do it. And so that was like a great learning for me, is that you don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to make it happen. And people are willing, to pitch in and help. And they have great ideas also. And sometimes their idea might not be the perfect idea, but you'll twist it and turn it, and make it into your idea.
And so what'd you do? You bought one boat, you own the boats, and then two. So how do you get up to 100?
So when we bought the business, they already had the boats. So the business at that time had and of course, if Kevin was sitting here, he'd know the exact numbers, but I think we had around 10 boats and, or 15, I don't know, and 2 locations. So the way the Freedom Boat Club model works is every 10 members that join, you buy another boat. That's how you keep people in boats. That's how you keep the availability well. So what it's basically saying is that it's a 10-to-1, member to boat ratio. So we just kept adding members, and then we kept adding boats and growing. So we bought the St. John's and Duval County franchise. And then we have first right of refusal for Clay County. And, if we want to go up north, so we can expand, the locations. And, the other thing I think is a lot of times people think, well, I don't have the money to do it. And so at that time, when you grow up in corporate America, if you grow up in corporate America, this, everybody's all about 401k, 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 401k. So, that's where you put your money. And so that's where all my money was. That's not liquid money, in order to get the money to buy the down payment. And so I actually went and met with my banker and said, how am I going to do this? And I, at that time, owned a condo outright that I was renting. And so he said, let's get a mortgage on the condo. And you can take, get some equity on the condo. And so that's how a line of equity, on the condo. So there's creative ways, but you have to be willing to ask and seek that out. And I think sometimes, if you're that A-type person, it's like, oh, I can figure it out on my own, And so I think that that's a good message. And then because I had an advertising background, I also know, a lot of times owners don't answer their phone, or they don't, they have people screen their calls. I'm not like that, because I know I don't have all the ideas, and you might have an idea that I haven't thought of. So I need to listen to you, and then I can make my decision. Well, a friend of mine said to me, a good friend of mine that I'd worked with at Bell South, so he knew advertising and I trusted him. He said, I think you need to get on 1010XL radio. It's a sports talk radio here. Jeff Prosser, he's a great guy. I think you need to connect with him. So, I listened to what he said. He said it's a male audience. And at that time, it was predominantly males coming in the door. And the husband would bring the wife. Now it's the wife bringing the husband. I love that change. But anyway, so I reached out and I met with Jeff, and he put a plan together. And then, so I started, advertising. I was very blessed. I grew up with a friend who I've known since I was 10, who was a writer. He was the editor for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He'd retired, started his own company called True Vine Communications. He's a great writer. So he would write my commercials really funny. And then one day I was talking with my ad agency at the time that we had through the franchise system, because I'd been doing a lot of events. And she goes, "Hey, you're the Boatanista." And I went, "I am." And so a couple days later, I was like, "Hey, that's kind of cool." So I called her up and I said, "Holly, I think we need to come up with a logo and like a definition of this." So she did. So one day I'm at 1010 and I said, "Hey, something about being the Boatanista." And then Jeff Prosser said, "We need to start all your commercials with, 'Hi, I'm the Boatanista.'" So we did. Well, then I'm walking around a trade show one day and I've got my Freedom Boat Club shirt on. And this guy walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, Freedom Boat Club." He goes, "I listen to the Boatanista all the time on 1010XL. I went, like that. I'm the Boatanista. So he's like, "Oh, you're the Boatanista." And he's like taking pictures with me. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And then I realized that it really appealed to a male audience and a female audience. So I said, I'm going to trademark it.
I love that.
And once again, I had to go through some hurdles to get the trademark, but I got it. And now it's like, I go places, I have my car wrapped and people will go, "Oh, the Boatanista, I love your commercials on 1010. And, and so the message that I want to say to that is you never know who's going to have that idea for you. So be open, listen and take their ideas, and you just never know who's going to have that right one for you. And I really credit 1010XL to bringing a lot of, members to us. So I'm so thankful that I listened, to my friends and to them. So.
Yeah, that's great. So from what I hear, taking courage and taking chances. My motto is always to find a way. And as an entrepreneur, you just have to try different things. And it can be the one that you kind of say, no way this will ever work. I'll do that. I'll post something on LinkedIn, post it, take it off, post it, take it off. And then that gets the most views. So you have to try new things. I wanted to go over, I know you're a big giver and you do a lot for charity, and you also do the boat parade. I'd like, to talk about that, all of the things you're doing to give back.
Yeah. So, because of COVID, we haven't done much this past year, and, there's having some spikes. So we'll probably get back into it next year. But what I love to do is, one of the things that I realized as a Freedom Boat Club member is people would come in my office and they would be like, "I always dreamed of having a boat, but I didn't. And they're like grinning ear. "I just took my kids tubing. I just did this." And their joy is just like, they finally like reached a dream that they never thought. And so actually a gentleman that I was in the Southside Businessman Club, a networking club with, came to me. And he has a company called CFI Media. And he said, "Hey, what would you think about us doing like a charity boat ride for kids?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love that." And so that's how it started. It was his idea, but I jumped on the bandwagon. So we've done Dreams Come True, Father's Harbor. We've done Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Baptist Children's Downtown, Daniel, the Daniel Foundation. So these are kids that probably might not ever have the opportunity to get on the water. And so we bring them to the dock and we pack up a picnic lunch. We get them on boats. We take them down to Green Cove Springs. There's a picnic area there. and let them picnic and play on the playground. And then we bring them back and go try to find dolphins or gators or turtles or whatever. And, these kids are just, they're so, it's like a joy that you can't pay for, and they'll come up and say, thank you. And they're so thankful. And so we've done, all of those. And then we've done some super fun things with I didn't have this idea. I saw it somewhere of people spelling things with their bodies. So we actually did Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and we did a video. They spelled freedom in the grass, and they just had a ball doing it, And then, do you remember when the videos, the mannequin videos, the statue videos were going around, like you'd be in a statue and they'd have, So we did that with the Dreams Come True people, and they had a blast doing it. And so that's just one way that we give. The other way that we do, we support the the School for Autism here. We did the boat parade where we raised money for them. And so I'm just all about, giving back. We have this wonderful, beautiful gift of the waterways. Let's give it to people who, might not be able to have that opportunity. So, and I love to do win things, And so when Captain Sandy came, they had called and said, could I think of an idea of something? Well, there was a Jags game that day. I knew that the Safe Harbor Boys Home was trying to get their message out. So they donated the 125-foot yacht for us to use. And then we had a boat gate with Sandy, and you had to pay to come to the boat gate. And so it was just like, it was really nice. And then people got to meet Sandy. They got to boat gate at the game. Safe Harbor Boys Home got to be out there, and then the money went to the School of Autism. So I love that, where you can do win and get, several people together. So I think, one of my philosophies is, just give to give, and it will come back. It will.
Right.
Not that that's what you're doing it for, but that's just how it works.
I believe in that too. So I just think it's fabulous of everything you're doing and everything you've done in your past. And I have a question I ask all of my guests, but
Sure.
What else is on your bucket list?
So we would like to own our own marina because we feel like, there's a shift and more people are joining a boat club than are buying boats. People are still going to always buy boats. That is going to happen. And I am not against you buying a boat. I think if you want to own a boat, you should own a boat. I own 2 boats myself. And then I think there's people who live in HOAs, or they have kids that have busy schedules and they can't afford the time that it takes to own their own boat. Freedom Boat Club's a perfect fit for them. So we would like to own our own marina that's, purely Freedom, for the most part, Freedom Boat Club. So that's what's on our site. And then on my bucket list is to go to Croatia and be on the boat with Captain Sandy.
Oh, that's fabulous. Did I tell you I'm Croatian?
No way!
Yes.
You're kidding!
No, so I've been over there twice with my family, and I want to go too on Captain Sandy's boat to Croatia.
Oh my gosh! Well, Croatia was never on my list, until I started watching the show. And now I've had 2 friends that have gone over there, and they say it's just like a dream. It's so beautiful. And so that's on my bucket list. So maybe you and I will go together.
Oh, let's go. I need a boat captain. So we'll do that because they have more than 1,000 islands, and it's incredible. But going back to courage, my great-grandma and great-grandpa immigrated from Croatia. And so anytime that I have fear, I always think of her having the courage to get on that boat and taking 3 weeks. So anything seems easy. Oh, not easy, but to me, that is my courage.
And leaving her country.
She left all by herself with an uncle and left her 13 or whatever brothers and sisters. And then finally, went back, I think, when she was in her 80s. And so my mom was able to connect with our Croatian cousins, and now they're our best friends. They still own the land that my great-grandma was born and raised, so it's just phenomenal. But we will have to go to Croatia.
Yes, I would love to do that. I really want to do it. So that's definitely a bucket list for me. And then a goal for the business is to, own our own marina. So,
that's
have it be all Freedom Boat Club. And then we can do all kinds of things at the marina also, for our members. So
I know we have a Freedom Boat Club. Our oldest son, is really getting into fishing, and he's like, I need to buy a boat. And I'm like, have you checked into Freedom Boat Club? We have one at Lake Louisville. You need to do that. So I think it's really, and I had not heard of it before really, talking to you. So I think that's great. Any last words of wisdom on owning your business, taking that next chance that you would like to say?
I think that, for me, I will say that I'm really glad that I looked outside myself, outside of what I thought about myself and pushed myself past, that fear, because now I can't imagine not owning my own business, and I love what I do, and so what I will say, I talked earlier about the difference between loving what you do and having passion for what you do. I never, like when I first started, it was like, I didn't want to stop. Like I would have to make myself go to bed, and then I couldn't wait to get up the next morning. And, ideas are just coming, and it's that sort of, and just the joy and the love that you can bring to others. And I get to mentor my team still. I get to, mentor new boaters. And then as far as living my passion, I've always loved boating and being a boater. So I'm like either thinking about boating, on a boat, talking about boating, or boating.
Right.
So I would just say, go do it, and
just do it. Yep.
Do it. Have the fear and know you're going to have the fear, but pull back and remember what you have inside of you is what you're going to bring to the next thing.
I know I've always said when I started my own business 15 years ago, like I can't wait until Monday gets here. And if you're not in a position where you're waking up on Monday and can't wait to get there, because when I hear somebody on Friday going, oh my gosh, I only have 2 days and then Monday's coming, I'm like, you are in the wrong position and job and time to get out. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for being on the show. How can our viewers get in touch with you so that when they're in the Jacksonville, St. Augustine area, Florida area, can, reach out to you?
My blog is perfect, boatanista.com.
Okay.
And it's a great place to go if you want all kinds of information about boating. It's all things boating is what it is. But also you can connect with me through there, and there's a contact form and everything. And I would love to, I'm happy to help anybody. I love to mentor people, and especially women.
I love that. Well, I'll make sure it's all posted and listed. And now you got me all excited about, I've kind of had a little fear about.
I want you to come to Jacksonville and let's go boating.
I know I want to do that too, but I never thought about getting on a boat myself and being able to dock it and all that. I think now is the time, because I love being on the water. The lake, is only 5 minutes from our house. So I think I'm coming up with a new hobby.
Yes. And just picture this, Pam. You're going to walk up with your stuff like a rock star. They're going to know your name. They're going to know the boat that you've got. They're going to help you get your stuff on. You're going to go out and have a great time with your friends. You're going to call them when you're on the way back in, and they're going to meet you at the dock, take your lines, take your stuff, and you're going to walk away and go home.
Perfect. Sign me up. That's my kind of boating.
Exactly.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'm sure you'll be on the boat sometime today, and look forward to talking.
So can I close with my slogan? Inboard, outboard, onboard, never board.
That's perfect. I love it. Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Okay, take care.